The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
BUMBLEFOOT. BUMBLEFOOT.
Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but women rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you. With you.
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
Alright.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat about us. There will be a prepare for pickup. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and lift off.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's good to have you along for the ride on this Thursday, July 6th, Friday, July 7th. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, hope you had a great day and night. We are live right here in the burning Great White North on top of the very hot and tender mountains of central British Columbia as we are live 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on our terrestrial radio stations. WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans at over 160 countries around the world. We're also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Horns up if you were rocking to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL to start this show. Bumblefoot, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy, and the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Now, if you're a social media junkie like I am, follow me on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. We're also on Player.fm, RadioGuide.fm, TalkStream Live, and Stitcher. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. And if you head over to patreon.com for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of SOR as well. Now, if you want to take part in tonight's show, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign into one of the chat rooms, either by clicking live on our website, go on Revolution Radio, on Spreaker, on the UPRN chat room, or join us on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're not a Facebook user but you love Twitter, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I'll get to your questions and comments there live as well. If you head to our website for $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. You can also head to do a little shopping at our store, pick up t-shirts, posters, stickers, and if you want tickets for the first annual Caribou Paracon being held right here in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort. The dates are September 29th to October 1st. We'd love to have you. Tickets on sale. They are 10% off all VIP tickets until the end of this month. We also have the Encounter Online dealing with everything paranormal, courtesy of our editors, Eric Markham and Everett Themer. You can also check out my latest blog there as well. And if you've had an experience you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers is also on the hunt for Spaced Out Radio, looking for everything strange. Tim is our number one guy when it comes to finding the weird, the obtuse, the UFOs that are flying around. He's also helped design our brand new look website. It looks fantastic, Tim. Thank you very much. We're going to get into that a little bit more later. Originally tonight, we had planned on doing a show on the Lady of the Dunes from a story I learned about when I attended the Paracon in Provincetown, Massachusetts in May. But due to a health concern, and never is a good time when you're visiting a hospital, our guest, author Sandra Lee, just couldn't make it tonight, so we're giving her a pass, which is fine. You know, we want people to be healthy first. But, you see, the show must go on. So we have a backup when it comes to having fill-in guests, just in case of an emergency like this. So tonight we're getting into one of my favorite topics, which is UFOs, aliens, and everything that goes along with it, with Everett Themer from the Encounter Online and UFOseekers.com, Tim Doyle. Speaking of emergencies, as I welcome in Everett and Tim to the show, welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Speaking of emergencies, you know, I don't know if any of you caught my Facebook today, Dave Scott, but there's a little bit of a forest fire going on. So I want to let our listeners know this, okay? My area where I live here in central British Columbia, I live in a place called 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, which is a tiny town. There's only about 1,500 people in it. You know, it's got one gas station, one supermarket, and I think, you know, one place to get your hair cut. Very tiny. And anyways, about 5, 6, 7 miles away from where I am, a forest fire started this morning. From what I have learned, it was started accidentally by a human. What that means, I don't know. But quickly, it's turned from 1 hectare to, last I checked, it was about 260 hectares. And the wind is blowing towards my house. And my house right now, I'm going to tell everybody right now, my house is safe. Okay? And in the skies for the last 8 hours, 9 hours, there have been water bombers flying constantly over the forest fire scene. And I did a Facebook Live earlier today in regards to showing some of the planes that were, it was really cool because there's a lake that's very private in the area, but it's long enough, it's probably 1.5 miles long, that the planes could land in, fill up with water, and then take off and be at the forest fire within probably 3-4 minutes. And I've never seen that before. I grew up in a town, Abbotsford, British Columbia, where we had a squadron of forest fire planes called Conair Aviation. And me being an aviation buff, I would go down there as a kid. I'd ride my bike like 10 miles, 15 miles to get to the airport just so I could go look at these planes. And I loved it. I've never seen them in action until today. I'd seen them fly, at the local air show, but I'd never seen them actually work, if we can say that. And these guys are brave, man. Watching these planes fly into the forest fire smoke and disappear for a short time, it was pretty incredible when it came down to it. It was pretty incredible indeed. And I watched them for about an hour today, and it was very surreal. I've never in my life, coming from the Lower Mainland near Vancouver, I'd never in my life actually seen action on a forest fire or been in a situation where we are on evacuation alert. Now, what I did for the show, so we weren't interrupted tonight, was I went to my good friend Mike Schmidt's house, which is about 8-10 miles away from where I am, or where my home is. So I'm broadcasting out of his house. That's the beauty of online radio, is you could just pick up your computers and you go with it. But I have all my important things with me, except my pets. My pets are still at my house. Now, I do have to lay the ground rules for tonight. If my cell phone rings, and Mike is with me here, and if he gives me the signal that I have to run and go get my pets because my area and my home is being evacuated, Everett and Tim are going to be here. They're going to run the show. They're just going to talk anything UFOs or whatever comes to their mind. Everett will run the show. Tim will be on as a guest. And, Bob's your uncle, because I got to race about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to my house. There's probably going to be a lot of traffic. But I'm in a good area. I don't believe for a second that something is going to happen to my home. I don't feel it. And, and we are gone. Right? We gotta go get the dogs. I am going to rescue the cat. The cat and I aren't friends, but I'm going to rescue the cat, and I'm going to grab whatever I can in my vehicles and get the hell out of Dodge. So that's just the way it's going to be. So this is kind of an emergency show. Now, I could have, if I wanted to, I could have canceled tonight's show, and I know all of you out there would have agreed with me doing that. You would have said, you know what, that is a very, very smart decision. I've even had people say to me tonight, why are you on the air? Why are you doing this? And it's because I have to do this, okay? I can't let a little forest fire, well, it's not very little, but I can't let a forest fire take me away from all of you. That's not right. I know that sounds selfish and everything, and I'm not trying to be a hero here or anything like that, because I'm far from it. The heroes right now are the 40 firefighters who are on the ground digging trenches to try and throwing dirt on the fire, trying to get it out. The heroes are in the sky right now fighting this forest fire to try and save houses. Now, only 5 houses in our area have been affected, okay, that have been evacuated. I was talking quickly via text to a good friend of mine, Tony, who's a firefighter in town, and he's down there, watching the blaze, trying to get animals herded up for these ranchers who have a lot of cattle at stake right now. And he said, and he lives right across the street from me, and he's like, I'll let you know if anything happens, but right now we got a show to do. So even though there is a forest fire going on and these guys are battling it, I had to come do the show. That's just there's no way that we can just back out because of a forest fire. You know what? Other people would do that. And I've seen people cancel shows for the lamest excuses. Man, I'm on evacuation alert, and I can tell you right now, I am absolutely dedicated to you guys to be here. Okay, you guys push me to be the best. You guys are pushing me to make sure that we bring you the best every night. So damn it, there's no way that I am going to absolutely skip a show when I can do a show safely. So where I am broadcasting right now at Mike's house, it's a safe area. There's no danger here. There's no danger of the signal cutting out or us having to do anything. But like I said, I do want to remind our listeners in the chat rooms, on Twitter, and on our affiliate stations that are carrying us, where if I all of a sudden have to come out, Everett and Tim are here to finish up the show, so you have something to listen to. Because like I said, if that call comes, this is probably one of the only times I will actually have my cell phone sitting right beside me during a broadcast. But if that call comes, I will let you all know that Mike's in the chat room right now on Spreaker, Mike and I are out of here. We're racing on out of here. I'll let you guys know, and I'll keep you intact with what we are doing. You know what I'm saying? So, gentlemen, I had to get that out. Thank you so much for coming in on short notice tonight. We had planned on talking about Lady of the Dunes in Provincetown. However, due to a very bad illness, we're going to have to reschedule that show probably for August. And hopefully we can get that on. But Tim Doyle from UFOseekers.com and Spaced Out Radio, welcome. Everett Thiemer from The Encounter Online, welcome. How we all doing?
Great. I have to give you credit. It's got to be hard to keep your head in the game the way you do when things, when your town is essentially threatened by destruction. And yet you're still calm and sitting there putting on a show.
Well, you know what? It's It's something that has to be done. It's something that has to be done. We have committed to our audience to being here every single night, and they commit to coming here. They don't have to be here. They don't have to be hanging out with us, but they do. So, you know what? We have to do it. And put it this way, guys, if I felt at this point that my house was in danger or something along those lines, we would have figured it out, or I would have, sent a message over and just said, you know what, I apologize due to a forest fire. I can't do the show tonight. And I would have been good. I would have been very good. But I'm safe.
Yeah, if you lived out here in Southern California, right by me today, there's three fires going, so it's, and I guess it's like a different perspective down here because California is like so used to being on fire all the time. So in fact, if you watch two or three episodes ago, episode 11 that we did, the alien encounter at Pine Mountain Club, that episode actually starts out with water droppers, because we couldn't even leave the valley to go to our location without getting stuck behind a big brush fire. So
Absolutely.
I kind of feel left out because the only fire we ever have around here is gunfire.
Well, you are near Chicago. You are near Chicago.
Ooh. Yes, I am.
But you know what? We're going to be updating everybody because I know everybody is a little curious. My good buddy Rob in the chat room, he's from Vancouver. He lives in Toronto. He just updated with CBC that the fire has grown to now 380 acres. And yes, I did know that there are evacuation orders on alert for a few people. So we will keep everybody in tune with what is going on because I want you guys to know. You guys are all family out there. So let's just make sure that, if I got to jump on out of here and Mikey all of a sudden exits the chat room on Spreaker, that's because we're out of here. We're going to get as much stuff as I could pile into my SUV and my car, or in my truck, pardon me, and, that's the main thing right now. And yes, I will be taking my guitars, all 5 of them. I will be taking my guitars.
Are they running a night shift, Dave?
Yeah, you know what? Because it's so close to town, the water bombers will probably go all night and get in there because they, up here in BC, because we're literally about 85-90% forest up here, they go hard. Now, if this was sitting on a desolate mountain burning away, they'd probably call the crew off for the day and restart it. But because it's so close to a town, they're going to keep going from as far as I know. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, just imagine back in time, Dave, when we didn't have the firefighting crews and how immense and huge forest fires used to get, when no one would fight them. And in fact, because like down here, this is something very common, and we suffered from that bark beetle issue where a lot of our trees in the national forest out here died. And back in like the 60s and 70s, we used to have like a government agency that would go out and actually clean the dead brush and take down trees. They would do more logging. And there was actually some people raising an issue that maybe because we don't do that forest cleaning anymore, and maybe we fight too many fires too often without maybe letting that brush recycle through like its natural process, and maybe even that's why we suffered from that bark beetle disease, because we aren't letting, the natural environment kind of go through that natural cycle. I know it's a little off topic, but I actually heard, an interesting like debate and conversation about that issue the other day. It's kind of interesting.
You know what? And up here, there are so many forest fires. I think last year there was something ridiculous, like almost 1,800 forest fires across British Columbia last year. It was one of the worst.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, you got to realize, for people who don't know the size of British Columbia, the province that I live in, would cover up Washington State right down to the Mexican border. That's how big it is. Okay?
Wow.
It is a giant province. And
yeah, down here in the national forest, you could like drive from one side to the other in about an hour.
Yeah, and like if I were to drive from the Washington State border to the Yukon Territory or Alaska, it would take me approximately 29 hours to get there. Okay, so it's a
pretty big place. That's why Carl's hanging out there.
I'm sorry?
That's why Carl's hanging out there.
Well, probably.
It's all,
Probably, So, I mean, one of the things that we do around here is we're used to forest fires up here. We're used to the damage they cause. We're used to absolutely that everything goes on, and we're prepared. And that's why we have such a large fleet of water bombers that are in this area battling fires, because they're always busy. And you know what? They're the real heroes of this because, I mean, they have houses to rescue. They have to put their lives on the line. I don't know these guys that are battling this fire, but you know what? I can honestly say they're all out to save my house, my neighbors' houses, the animals, the farms, everything. They're out there saving that. They don't have a an agenda. They're not looking for publicity. They're there to do a job, which is to protect people, whether they're on the ground or in the air. But I'll tell you, one of the coolest things I saw today with this, okay, was watching the 6 planes, and they were all in formation, these 6, and they look like crop dusters, okay, landing on the lake, filling up their pontoons, taking back off, all in like a straight line formation of 2 planes apiece. Then there would be like half a mile, and then the next 2 would come in, then another half a mile, then the next 2. So they were going out 6 at a time. But there was the big DC-6s that they use up here that were coming in, and they would go drop their ordnance on the fire. They would leave. The little guys would come in. The big guys who were empty would be flying off as the next 2 big guys would be coming in, drop their ordnance, and it was just watching it. And then you watch the spotter planes flying on the outside. I've never seen this before. And I hate to tell you, as dangerous as this is, and as scary as everything with this is, it's actually kind of cool to watch, while it's going on. It really is. So, what I'd like to do here, guys, if you're in our audience, I don't care if you're spiritual or not, okay? Let's do something here. Let's try and focus our energy. We need that. The wind is blowing east, okay? And that's where there's about 1,000 homes. Okay, and my home is in that 1,000. Let's get everybody here to say, if you believe in God, say a prayer. If you believe in whatever you believe, okay, just maybe meditate on it to try and get that wind to go west. There is no housing out west, okay? There's nothing there. It's just desolate forest, which is sad because there are animals out there, but we want to make sure that no animals get hurt. But let's just try and focus our energy on changing that wind direction to make sure that it goes back in towards the fire rather than spreading out more, because you know what, this has the ability to get very big, very dangerous, very fast. I'm in the middle of the mountains, man, where there is a lot of trees, and if you looked at my Facebook or my Twitter account, you have seen some of the destruction that has happened. And I'm not going to harp on this too long, because I know you guys out there, you want to hear about UFOs, you want to hear about aliens and all the weird stuff we talk about, and we will get to that, I promise you that. But I got to admit, I'm a little nervous right now, because I have never ever in my life been put in this situation where I'm on evacuation alert from a forest fire. It's never happened to me. So it's kind of cool to experience something that's never happened, but it's very scary at the same time. Now, thank goodness Mrs. Spaced Out Radio and the kids are down on the coast. All right, they're far away from here, so it's just me and my buddy Mikey who are going to be helping me out, if something does happen. I'm very, very faithful that the firefighters are going to get this under control. They're going to make sure that everything is safe and sound for all of us citizens here. But let's just send some thoughts and prayers to them and firefighters everywhere who are battling the blazes up on the mountains and saving people, because they're the real heroes out there, and we want to make sure that they get our blessings and they get our thoughts and prayers, everyone. So if you could take a moment to do that, I would appreciate that. One of the things I do want to say, Everett and Tim, Mike and I are a little upset about this forest fire, and I'll tell you why. And Mike's sitting right beside me. He's shaking his head silently, like a good guest should when they're sitting beside you in a studio. Thank you, Mike. Okay. Right there where that fire is, last October, that's where we found our Sasquatch prints.
I saw you say that on Facebook.
Yes. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, is anybody out there listening or watching? I know it's a horrible time to do it, but are they exploring the idea that Sasquatch is going to be migrating from the area.
Well, I doubt it. I don't think that's a real priority right now because the RCMP literally have all the roads in the area and all the logging roads in the area blocked off. Because, I mean, there are some crazy looky-loos out there who would try and get a little closer. Like, I'll be honest with you, you know, like I've already had a friend in Vancouver from a radio station down there ask if he can interview me about the fire right after I get off the air with you guys at my old radio station. So I'm probably going to end up doing that at midnight. So, you know, I don't think right now with everything that they're worried about Sasquatch. I know Mike and I are. I know Mike and I are very concerned. You know, I mean, Mike went back to that spot. He was going to put a gifting spot in that area to try and make some sort of communication. But the problem was where we found the prints last year, they've started logging. And now it makes me wonder because it's been so dry up here for the last couple of weeks. And up here, the one thing that I learned was the trees drink a lot of water up here. A lot of water. And if you've never been in a forest and see how quickly a puddle just evaporates, it's pretty incredible. And apparently it's, according to Mike, he's just passed me a note. It says it started at an unsanctioned camp area. So, could have been a cigarette, could have been somebody cooking dinner, could have been somebody with an exhaust going on an ATV, could have been something. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, you know, on purpose. We don't get a lot of that up here. But on the flip side, you know, I don't know if our Bigfoot area is officially destroyed. And I'm kind of sad by that because it was a very comfortable area. And if you've ever been around Sasquatch, you can honestly feel the energy of the area feel different. And so I guess our two prints and our little rock mark that we put out there last year before the snow came, you know, I'm pretty sure it's pretty torched by now. And I'm kind of sad by that because that was prime I mean, you know, guys, and Tim, you probably know, you've done some investigation, okay? When you get prime territory where you're getting evidence, you want to protect that territory. You want to make sure nothing happens to that territory. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed, Dave. And that, you know what's really funny, or I mean, you know, an ironic twist to that, what's happening to your area happened to that Travis Walton spot where the Fire in the Sky movie took place. You know, there was a huge fire that ran through there, and some people speculate that that secret location where he got abducted at actually burned up in the fire, you know. So it's terrible to see those possible soil samples lost or tree core samples lost. You know, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm. You know, on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, John Porter says, here in Tampa, where they issue hurricane evacuation orders, you can't get near any store that sells beer or liquor. Well, I can tell you this, the gas stations and the liquor store were pretty busy today. We're pretty busy today. So I mean, it's, you know, just bear with us tonight. This is a throw-together show, so that way you guys have some entertainment going on Spaced Out Radio, because we never want to leave any of you guys hanging. And, you know, let's just make sure we, like I said, we send some positive vibes over to the firefighters, thoughts and prayers, those in the sky for their safety, and those on the ground who are conducting the safety, and all the police officers around, you know, or who are helping out people who are a little bit scared right now. So let's try and shift that wind. I'm pretty sure, I believe in the whole collective conscious thinking and changing things. You know, you may not, really doesn't matter, you know, but I do. And I'm not saying I'm the be-all and end-all here, but you know what? It doesn't hurt to try at this time. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't hurt to try, even if you don't believe in it. But the main thing is, let's just send some love out to the people, the men and women who are fighting those fires right now, because they need it, and we need to make sure that, you know, they stay safe, because they're trying to keep all of us safe right now. So, I wouldn't even mind some rain. I really wouldn't mind some rain.
Yeah, we'll send you some prayers from California, Dave.
Yeah, like you guys know what rain is down there.
Oh, we got nailed this year. Wasn't that crazy when that dam almost broke in Orville?
Yes, that was...
it was like weather modification status out here.
Well, one of our good listeners, Joe, who has incredible hair, he was actually on, I believe, an evacuation alert because that dam was right by his house.
Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe.
Wow.
No, Joe isn't in the chat room yet, but he will be. So, anyways, that's pretty much what we're doing right now. We are just going with the flow tonight. We're going with the flow. And once again, if you're just tuning in to Spaced Out Radio tonight, my house is on an emergency evacuation alert due to forest fires. We are broadcasting from a different location that's about 8 to 10 miles away from where we normally broadcast. We're at our friend Mike's house here tonight and stealing his Wi-Fi rather than old Kevin the Sasquatch. And
if anybody wants to see pictures and videos, they can jump on your website and look up on your blog, and they can see that, or just on the homepage in the latest news. And if you guys go on spacedoutradio.com, you can see right on the homepage, Dave posted a video and some pictures of the fire earlier today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, Tim, I while we're at the topic of the website, I want to give you a very big thank you because you have taken the time to rebuild our website. It is a work in progress right now, but the job you have done on that has been absolutely incredible, and I really want to give you some public compliment on that because, while you're on the air, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit here because you did a phenomenal job, my friend. I know it's not done. I know there's been an absolute ton of work going into it, but man, you really stepped us up on the internet game, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, and you guys deserve it. You got a great radio show, and now you got the right website to take you into the future, and deliver all the users these great events that you have going on, like the Caribou Paracon, and they can get their tickets there. And then also keeping up with like the latest news from the encounter. And then also, we hope to have like a chat on there soon, so people can just come onto the website soon and chat while you're live on the air. Doing those things that'll help make it more interactive and hopefully, be able to keep up with you as you make it into the big time.
Well, you know what? You're a part of it, and you're stuck with us now. So you don't really have a choice anymore but to keep on it with us, my friend. So thank you so much. And I'm excited to see you get some of your videos from UFO seekers on there as well, because I think that's going to be just as important, getting you guys on board and showing your talents to our audience who may not have had the opportunity to check you out as of yet. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. I think it's a good match. And, I think the website is going to be a lot more interactive for people with a lot more news and video content, and it's going to be very, very up to date, which is absolutely great when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and it'll be great to share the stories that I'm constantly getting in. And in fact, we got a new episode coming out in the next day or two. Yesterday, I actually met up with multiple alien abductee and sat down for about a 2-hour interview. And this person actually has some skin scarring or a skin deformity under their armpit where they swear they had an implant. So this is like a 20-year-old whose first abduction occurred in 1999. And I just happened to meet this person because I was driving out on the road, and of course they saw our car, and they had actually looked up UFO seekers months before, but, being out on the internet, you don't know who people are or if they're real, and that's when UFO seekers became real to this individual, and he reached out and shared his story with me, which I would be the first person outside of a psychologist who's actually ever heard this story from this person. So in fact, they told me it was like a weight lifted off their shoulders. But back in 1999, this individual was about 11, 12 years old. And one night when they're sleeping, all of a sudden, he woke up, and he was in a craft up above his house at night. And he was laying on the floor of what he would say like a jail cell inside of a craft, but the floor of the craft was see-through like glass. And he's laying on it on his stomach, looking through the bottom of the cell, and he could see his house in the street down below his house. And he was only like 200 feet up in the air. So he was in some kind of like invisible craft. And so during that abduction, he got taken to a table by what he said were roughly 3 foot tall blue aliens wearing like white aprons almost. And he couldn't function well. And the experience happened from within his own body. So this wasn't something that the individual was seeing like from a distance and seeing themselves. This person says the incident occurred. They could see it from their own eyes, and 100% that it was real. And so these blue aliens take him to a table and then telepathically tell him that they're going to take the implant out. And granted, this was the first abduction experience that this person remembers. So that's when he realized that, wow, I've had abductions before I don't even remember. And so during this incident, and once they take this implant out, they start taking it from out of under his armpit, like in the middle of like where your hair would grow in your armpit. And he immediately woke up after that and ran into the bathroom and started searching through his armpit. And that's where he found this flap of skin that's almost like in Utah at Zion Park, and you have like those arches in the rock. Well, this piece of skin is like an arch like that. The piece of skin comes off the skin and then reattaches. And so he takes like a basketball air-filling needle, like this thing he had jimmy-rigged, and he starts playing around his armpit, and he sticks this needle through the skin deformity, and he pulls it up, and he goes, see, this is exactly where the implant came out. Why hasn't this skin reattached in, almost 20 years, and it's still just like this? And then after that abduction experience, he had a second and a third that he remembers in total. And the second experience was with taller blue aliens. So this individual went to a friend's house to house sit in Upland, California. And in the middle of the night while sleeping in the house by himself, all of a sudden he wakes up again in this same craft. And this is over 10 years later. So now we've moved from 1999 to about 2011. And this person hadn't ever had this experience again. And so now it's been 10 years later, and boom, there he is again. So he says when he wakes up and he's in the craft, he's standing up, but he can't really move his body, and he's pushed up against a wall. And this time there was taller blue aliens, about 5 to 6 feet tall, one on each arm, holding him up against the wall. And as he looked out in front of him, he could see one of the 3 foot tall blue aliens, which he claims from the telepathic feelings that this smaller 3 foot one was a male. He didn't tell me anything about any of the other ones, but that was definitely something that he felt strong enough to like relate that information. And so he says telepathically he speaks to the 3 foot one and says, I'm going to remember this. And he says he got this feeling back from the alien, and the alien says, well, you always say that. And so that's when he passes out again. And that was all he remembered from that specific instance. And then 2 years later, he has, it was 2 days in a row. So he wakes up in this house, and he still continues to house sit. But we go into the next day, and the same thing. He's there by himself, house sitting, this big house. He goes to bed, and then he wakes up in a craft again. But this time, Dave, it's gray aliens, just like Carl, gray aliens. And he says that he woke up on a table, and just like, scientists here would tranquilize a bear, and then they, pick the bear up, flip the bear over, move its legs around, these gray aliens were doing the same thing to him. He specifically remembers waking up and not being able to move any limbs or anything. And he says that he was screaming and trying to ask them, "Who are you? What are you doing?" But yet he couldn't make any noises. Specifically, he said there was 4 gray aliens to his right, 2 at the foot of his bed, and 3 to his left. So there was actually like a whole group standing around him, all looking down at his body, like analyzing him like scientists. And so then he says that they started to kind of roll him and flip him over, and all of a sudden he got control of his feet. And so he starts to move his feet, and one of the aliens, the gray aliens, touches his leg, and immediately he couldn't move anymore again. And so he's laying there, and one of the gray aliens, right? So he's like laying on his stomach now, and he's got like the left side of his face like pressed against the table, and he's like looking off the table. And he says the table's like shorter, like our dinner tables and tables are like a certain height. He said that these tables are like a little bit shorter. And so he's looking with his face, and he's laying on his stomach, and he's got his cheek pressed against the table, and he's looking out. And one of these gray aliens, with black eyes, like almond-shaped, just kind of like the typical story that we hear about the gray aliens. Well, one of them comes up to him and leans down and tilts his face the same direction that this kid is laying at, and puts his face right in his face. And the kid goes, "I told you I'd wake up and remember this." And then he said he got this feeling of like that the alien was actually impressed that he could remember this experience. But he really says that this one was the most traumatic. He was very scared of the gray aliens. He feels that they were like different than the blue ones. So like I asked him if he was opposed to getting abducted again, because I've definitely heard from some of these people that, that I've talked to that are experiencers and have experienced something like this, that even though it's like traumatic and quite an experience, that it's a life-changing experience. I mean, we're talking about a revelation. It's like a gift you've been given to know that there is something out there more, and you've got the question answered. It's like when someone has a ghost experience. While it may be like traumatic and scary, it's, personally me, I've had a ghost experience and I'm thankful for it because it answers the question for me. So, and that's kind of why I can go hunt and search for things, and it doesn't necessarily get boring because I know it's there. It's only, I'm going to catch the evidence sometime. But this kid said that he wouldn't mind getting abducted by the blue aliens, but the gray ones were just extremely scary and didn't seem to have as much morality, like taking care, even though they were just doing like scientific stuff. So that'll be the next video we have coming out. And in fact, I even have like video of like the deformity under the armpit. And then the kid like telling his story more in detail. So that'll be very interesting.
Everett, you're someone who's pretty skeptical about topics like and stories about what Tim just said. When you hear a story like that, which to me, as an experiencer, sounds so believable, for someone like yourself who's never had an experience, how do you feel when you hear a story like that?
I have mixed feelings. I just hearing what Tim has said, it's hard to discount sleep paralysis. There are a lot of different angles to look at. I'm not saying that he didn't have an experience, but the one thing, and this is a little side trip about the topic, we've talked lately quite a bit about implants. And the one thing, and I'd like to get Tim's opinion on this, is if there is a significance to where the aliens place them. Because in the last, week or so, we've talked about implants in arms and in calves and, along the side of the neck or the back of the neck. Is there any difference or significance to the placement of them?
It's so hard. And it's interesting you asked that, because I literally asked this person the same thing. I'm like, hey, did you get a feeling about what the implant was for? Was it there to take your vital signs? Is it like a GPS tracker? From his response, he said that because his first experience was the removal of the implant, like maybe it got removed because now he was remembering what was going on. But honestly, Everett, like he couldn't even give an answer to what it is. To me, I think it's something to track vital signs and then, to do like experiments. And especially like for the vital signs, because I always try to put myself in the mentality, and especially the more intelligent people that I met that were really deep inside of the government really like press upon me to think like an alien would think, hey, if this thing exists, if an alien exists, how is it going to think when it comes here? Where is it going to go? What's it going to want to look at? I mean, if you traveled across the entire universe, are you just going to come to like hang out above LA, and just like watch the cars go by? Or are you going to go to farms and analyze food? Are you going to go to lakes and rivers and analyze liquids? Are you going to abduct animals and abduct people to do scientific tests to learn about the DNA and the genetics? So personally, I think it would be everything combined, the GPS tracker, the vital signs. They may be giving these people something, and so they're trying to see what the reactions are.
Oh, I would completely agree. We talked about this on the weekend on Elizabeth England's show about there could be a variety of different uses for these, whether it be just, maybe some people have them just to track, kind of like tracking a herd. Some could be to monitor vital signs. There seems to be a variety of different places that they're put, and the possibility of a variety of different uses for them.
Right. And I'm telling you, Everett, this was the first person, because I have met a lot of people. This is the first person who's making this specific claim, who can show me some kind of abnormality on their body, which wouldn't be explained normally. Something interesting about my past is I was actually kind of friends with people who were in the group of those guys who would like hang by their skin on hooks. So I've like actually had like, acquaintance experience with people who are into piercings and piercing their skin. This skin deformity is like in the middle of his armpit. I mean, right where you would be sweating, you would get an infection. And for the skin to be the way it is or healed the way he is, like this person must have either been born with it or something weird has happened, because I don't necessarily see like the skin, getting back the way it was. But as I was saying, like this is the first person I met who like says, this is what I got going. I don't really want to tell anyone who I am. And in fact, this person used to be kind of like a semi-famous actor in Hollywood from a famous TV show. So they didn't really want to tell anybody. And if they were going to do anything in the future, they know it'd ruin their career. So, I'm impressed by this one.
Yeah, claims like that, when they come from people like that, I think they, in the long run, increase the validity of the experiences, just because there are so many people out there who make claims and then immediately want to profit off of them. When it comes from somebody who maybe is a little leery, maybe is a little scared, doesn't want to ruin their future, but yet they're still willing to talk, I think that that gives the claim validity.
Right. And I know that Dave had a guest on the other night, and they Nick Redfern, I believe last night. And Nick talks about like an investigation tactics, and you definitely want to kind of act like a police officer, and analyze this person. This person is perfectly clean shaven. They don't have large pupils. I can't see any kind of drug use. I can't see any kind of mental instability. From the looks of their car, everything's okay. The person is in a school taking classes, so they're chasing education, reading books. And then I look at this person and go, wow, you just told me a story that would make anyone think you're a Looney Tune. So it has like no benefit. And especially like you said, if they're not like writing a book and have like some monetary gain. So it's something I would consider like very credible, this person's story. It definitely doesn't, no one's story is ever going to kind of push me over the edge to make me definitively say something. But this is definitely one of those stories where I'm looking at it going, wow, I don't know what to believe anymore.
I know that feeling, boys.
Well,
the only thing I can say is wait till it happens to you. Wait till
yeah, but he told me I don't want it to happen.
I want it to happen.
You know what's pissing me off is I'm begging for it to happen again. I just have a set of rules and guidelines that they damn well better follow. That's what that's all about. They better damn well follow the rules.
They're going to listen to you.
Hey, I don't think I've been taken since. As far as I know, I haven't.
Right.
But
see, and that's why, Dave, because you have like that consciousness and the remembrance of it is a perfect example. If there was a scientist out kind of taking, an animal or something, and this animal was starting to know what was going on and wasn't the same anymore, you don't have like that placebo effect. You know about what's going on, so it influences things in your life, or it can out them for who they are. So I think once you kind of reach that level, that they may move on, and you might not see them again. So.
All right, guys, I'm going to get you to hold on because we are going to be into our first break here momentarily. You're listening to a special edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am on alert, literally on alert, in case the forest fire makes a move towards my house right here in central British Columbia. So we are still broadcasting live. We are going to take a break here. More with UFOseekers.com, Tim Doyle, and Everett Thiemer from the Encounter Online. All things weird, strange, UFOs, paranormal, and even a little bit of Carl we're going to throw in. We'll be right back with more Spaced Out Radio after this. Coming September 29th to October 1st, the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon. Hi, this is Dave Scott. The event will be held at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Come join us for an amazing weekend of speakers talking all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Sasquatch, intuitiveness. Listen to great speakers like Miriam Delicato, Samantha Mowat, and the crypto guru Ronald Murphy. Get your VIP passes by going to spacedoutradio.com and clicking on the Paracon banner. Come to BC, where the paranormal is waiting for you.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter Online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Hey, this is Canadian paranormal investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passports. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up, enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us on this Thursday night. Tomorrow night on the program, our Keith Andrews is back. The first Friday of every month, we get into the ET connection with our Keith Andrews. It's going to be a great time with Keith, as it always is, month in and month out. KJ, I know you will have your our Keith Andrews party going down in Florida. Once again, why don't we have the invite? 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live as well on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us as well. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Seriously, Bill, I'm trying to deal with a forest fire alert here, and you give me this password. Bill Cardwell sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Como Docun Kais. Cuomo Docun Kais. Or is it Docun Quiz? Cuomo Docun Quiz? Whatever it is, that is your password for tonight. It's not a very high Scrabble unless you get to the end. You don't get a lot of points unless you get the Q with the Z in there. But you know what? Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Hey, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect with me live during the show on Twitter as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. A brand new look. Thank you, Tim Doyle from UFOseekers.com, and our guest tonight for just making us look fabulous online. Really, I'm so impressed. So impressed. I can't say thank you enough. And, of course, you can check out our store where we got VIP tickets to the first annual Caribou Paracon right here in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. I'm sure the forest fire will be out by then. And it'll be held at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort September 29th to October 1st. It's going to be a good time indeed. You guys definitely want to come down for that one. And you can read up on the encounter online and check out all our UFO videos from UFOseekers.com. Tim Doyle from UFOseekers.com and Everett Thiemer from the Encounter Online are my guests tonight. It's a little bit of an emergency show because if you're just tuning in, I'm on emergency alert right now. And the reason why I am is literally about 5 to 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers, so that's about 5 miles from my house. There is a major roaring forest fire going on. My area is on evacuation alert. I am not broadcasting from my home. I'm broadcasting from a good buddy of mine of this show, Mike Schmidt, who is our resident Sasquatch researcher, and we're hanging out here doing the show. We wanted to make sure we got the full show in for you. If all of a sudden I have to leave, that's because the forest fire has taken off and I got to go get my dogs at my house. So Mike and I may have to split here in order to race on home and save my dogs and, yeah, I guess the cat as well. But if that happens, both Tim and Everett, they will take over the show so that way you have programming right through the night. So make sure that you guys stay tuned. I will keep you abreast of the situation. Right now, looking at the evacuation order number 2, it is still very, very far from my house. Let's hope it keeps going that way. And please, if you can, if you're spiritual, if you're not, if you're agnostic, I really don't care. Send some good thoughts to the firefighters who are fighting this fire and keep an eye, on pushing the winds. Instead of east, push them west so that way they can gain some control of this fire. I would really appreciate that. So thank you for your patience tonight. Everett, Tim, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for it.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I had a question. Do you think these passwords that Bill's giving you have anything to do with your pointing out his misspelling last weekend or last Friday?
No, he just does it because him and his wife, Katie, okay, this is from what I've gathered. You got to realize they have an illness in being Toronto Maple Leafs fans, okay? And anybody in Canada knows if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, you have an illness, okay? And You know, for some people, that illness goes back to way back in 1967 when they won the last Stanley Cup. And every year, doesn't matter how bad they are expected to finish, the Leaf fans think they're winning the Cup this year, and it never works. So we're 50 years and counting right now, and I laugh every time I hear it. So, sorry, I'm just grabbing a drink of water there. So, Bill and his wife, Katie, who, you know, she seems like a nice lady with all intents and purposes. They absolutely murder me sometimes on these passwords. They do. They murder me on it. And it hurts.
I used to try and pronounce them.
Yeah.
It hurts my tongue to try and pronounce some of them.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. So, you know, that's just the way it is
Call it the tongue twister segment.
Absolutely. But Bill got me tonight. He got me tonight. I don't even think I got a big mention for that. I better check. But either way, Bill can be cruel sometimes. I think it's because he doesn't have enough ice cream with maple syrup on him. So, that's the way it
Maybe
is.
you should have to buy him Starbucks every time you can't pronounce the word.
Well, no, apparently I did. Because I got myself a big mention. So, I'm good with that. So, let's make sure it happens. Anyways, gentlemen, right before the break, Everett, you had a question for Tim in regards to UFO contact, or ET contact.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about his opinion, his idea on whether or not being aware of being abducted affects, or how it affects, the abduction and the abductee.
Okay. You know, and I think that we should think about it like a mouse in a box, and you have a human scientist who's doing tests on this mouse. And let's say there's multiple boxes connected, and the doctor is using some kind of chemical or medicine to test reaction times or the way the mouse would react when presented with situations. And let's say this mouse had multiple choices. So, you know, the scientist is banking on that this rat has no idea what's going on, and you kind of have like a placebo effect around this. And so I could see the same thing. Like maybe these implants are delivering a medicine, or maybe they've done some kind of hypnotism or telepathy to influence like the way people think. And they're watching just like a scientist would watch a mouse to see the reaction of these humans. And I think once these abductees kind of become conscious of what's going on, that it can pollute these scientific experiments. And I only really stay heavy towards the scientist's perspective, because I don't think there'd be necessarily any other reason to come here unless it was, you know, military forces. And then why would they just hang out if they were military, you know, or if they were searching for resources? They would be getting these things already. So, you know, I really think that if we're trying to put ourselves in the shoes of an alien being, if these beings exist, is to think about how far they've come, how difficult, and so that's why they're here to do these scientific experiments. And just like Star Trek, the whole point, and maybe even a prime directive of the species, would be when they contact or are monitoring a different species, is to not influence the technology, you know, not to crash a craft in Roswell, because now the Americans, the ethnicity, you know, the race of people can be stronger than someone on a different continent. So, you know, you're really trying to not let that happen. So once an abductee becomes conscious of what's going on, it's almost like a whistleblower who can start blowing the whistle on secret projects. And so I think they might move on to what would be the next victim.
Is it victimizing, though? Because I can tell you I'm implanted. I know exactly where my implant is. No, I haven't got it tested, but when I start talking about it, I can feel the vibration in my head start to go off. It's in the back of my head, kind of where the spine meets the brain. I remember waking up on the table when I was being implanted. It happened September 29th, 2014.
Wow.
Actually, it would have changed to September 30th because I went to bed on the 29th. Right? And I remember seeing the three little grays. I remember feeling the little childlike fingers on top of my head. I remember it all.
Wow.
I remember telling... the funny part about this story, and you know, Lorian Fenton, who will be speaking at this year's Caribou Paracon, she laughs every time I tell this story because she says, Dave, only a person who had that experience would mention it and make it sound real. And that was when I remember them cutting the back of my head open. I remember them trying to pull my skull up or the back of my skull up to try and jam something in there. All right. And I remember all of a sudden getting this urge, Tim, that I had to go to the bathroom really bad. So I started screaming at them, you got to get me back so I don't piss all over your table. Right? And
yeah, and isn't it interesting how your story sounds just like you were in a hospital getting anesthesia? It'd be the same thing, you know?
Absolutely. And when I woke up, okay, and I must have been screaming at them for a few minutes, not because they were cutting open my head. I was okay with that. I know that sounds strange, but I remember being okay with that. But when I had to go to the bathroom, I remember yelling at them, guys, you have to hurry up here. I'm going to piss all over myself here. I'm going to piss all over your table. And I'm not saying that to be rude, but this is God's honest truth of my experience.
And is that because you feel like their intentions were good? I mean, when they do these things and they're implanting the implant, do you truly believe like that is of good intention? You know, and that's why I would say victim, you know.
Well, you know what? You could call me a victim. I don't feel there was any ill will. I really don't. And when you look at that experience for a second, okay, and what I went through, all I can tell you is that when they put it in, and I started saying, get me back now, okay, like I feel it right now, where my head is kind of pulsating a little bit. And when they got me back, I woke up in a position that I'm never in, which is lying on my stomach on top of my blankets with my face buried in the pillow, because I'm somebody who sleeps on my side. And I woke up, the back of my head was killing me, and I went to the bathroom, and I must have stood there for about 5 minutes. You know, it was one of those ones, the best way I can say this, is it was one of those ones, you know when you go to the bar all night and you don't want to crack the seal, because then you're going to be going to the bathroom like every 10 minutes? That's what it was like. It was like cracking the seal. So I didn't feel any ill will by them, right? I figured they were just doing what they have to do because that was just a necessary steps, considering I'm an experiencer.
Right.
You know, when it happened, did you have anybody look at the back of your head to see if there was an incision mark or bruising or anything?
I did. And what was funny, like a day after I walked into my friend's metaphysical store, told her what happened, and she had a person in there who had just been abducted the same day or within a couple of days, and they had a weird spiritual mark that looks like a number 3. I don't know what it means, but I'm sure those who are spiritual out there will know what I'm talking about. You know, but you know what, Everett, you and I have talked many a times, hours upon hours with Preacher and everybody, and I can tell you this, and you know I am very, very passive about giving my experiences to experts, which is weird considering I do this show because of them. But I can tell you this, you know, I haven't had it checked out medically. I know it's there because I could feel it right now. Every time I talk about it, it starts to pulsate. and I can feel it pulsating right now. It's the weirdest thing.
Right, but even if you had somebody check it out, Dave, I mean, it's conventional thinking and conventional wisdom no matter where you go. And in fact, the recent abductee who we're profiling in our next episode had seen multiple psychiatrists and couldn't find help. You know, of course, when you meet a regular doctor in the regular private sector or a regular psychologist, you know, they're going on what they know and what they've learned, and they're always just going to jump right to you had a dream, and that's all it is. You know, they're never going to expect it beyond that. I mean, I can bet if they even pulled an implant out of the back of your head, they would just throw it in the garbage and wouldn't even do any kind of inspection, because they're just not, no one's thinking out of the box these days when we go, you know, to those sectors or those industries. So,
but is that starting to change?
I hope it's starting to change, but I mean, wouldn't we already think that people would be accepting of the ghost phenomenon? You know, we've all seen incredible pieces of just footage, EVPs, infrared video, thermal video, with just enough, just a millisecond or just a perfect picture enough, you know, to give us some kind of evidence, but yet no one accepts it anymore. In fact, we can hear people say that, you know, videos and pictures and any of this stuff, it just isn't good anymore because it can always be manipulated. So, you know, and just like a politician, and an election's over, and you think, okay, it's going to be a honeymoon and everyone will get together, you know, they're always going to find another reason or something else to pick out to deny it, because you'd be surprised, Everett, when I go out and I meet, you know, I'd say half the people laugh at what UFO Seekers does. They laugh at the car. They laugh at my nice collared shirt, because they feel that it's like an insult to their intelligence, because some of these people have grown up and they're convinced that their logic and their wisdom on this particular subject, it just shouldn't be challenged. You know, oh, there's no, like you said, that evidence out there. So they're just going to find some other reason, you know, to debunk it. In fact, for UFO Seekers, I can post a video of just me and Tracy going somewhere to a military base, catching some lights in the sky, and next thing I have internet people telling me I did CGI to put the lights in the sky. So there's just always going to be that percentage that you're never going to win over. But that shouldn't dissuade us from continuing on to pursue that evidence, because at least for those of us who are interested, we may just find that evidence someday.
Well, it would sure be nice to be knowing why they are implanting us, whether they are tracking devices or whether they are some sort of recording device on how they keep our vitals and everything like that. The fact is, a lot of people are having them and having those experiences. So it would be
I'll tell you this, Dave. I was by Edwards Air Force Base. That's pretty much one of our favorite spots. So we're by Edwards Air Force Base a couple times a week. Of course, that's where they're testing all of the most experimental airplanes, and NASA's there with their experimental airplanes. And we got stopped by an individual, a female, who proceeded to tell me and Tracy about her being the victim of an alien abduction. And she was very explicit about it being a traumatizing event, and that she was actually raped by these aliens during this experience, and swore to the high heavens that her son was actually an offspring of these tests. And in fact, she swore to us that she had had blood tests done, and the child didn't match the husband, her husband, and what would be the father. And so she said she never told anybody about this. I mean, who would want to? Imagine one day your mom's like, hey, you're from aliens. Like, I don't know where you came from, but your dad's DNA doesn't match yours. You know, so that's kind of why I lean more towards, like, the victim status. I mean, Dave, you're not giving your permission You know, everywhere we go, we got to sign a form, we give our permission, and those beings should be asking us before doing anything to you, because I can promise you that 99% of what was going on, you don't remember, and you're just remembering these little bits and pieces, and probably even not remembering full-blown experiences, not 1 second of an event. You may just be remembering one of the 10 events, and you're only remembering a minute of it. So who knows what they're doing to you, man?
Oh, well, I can tell you this. If I break down that day, okay, and Gail's going to get all freaked out because she didn't know that I had sometimes a little bit of ability. Thanks to Elizabeth Anglin for breaking that out on Saturday when she interviewed me a couple of weeks ago. Right? But I was actually channeling. And the one thing I've learned about channeling was that sometimes you see more with your eyes closed than you do with your eyes open. And Mrs. Spaced Out Radio was sitting right in front of me, and we were on our patio, and it was about 9:30 at night. It was September 29th, and we were about 2.5 feet apart, so very close together. And as I'm getting ready to channel whatever wanted to come through, I see out of my third eye this little gray type alien that is almost like a hybrid between what E.T. looks like and what a gray looks like. And I see him peer from behind Mrs. Spaced Out Radio's chair. And I went, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And as soon as I recognized him and acknowledged him, he pulled back. Well, it was him and his two buddies who got me that night. Never seen them before. Never seen them again. All right?
Right. And and maybe that implant is a tag, Dave. So see, there you have, like a physical tag put in you.
Yeah.
And any of these species or any of these beings that are coming, bing, it's like a locator, and you have these little abductees placed all over the place.
Could very well be. Could very well be. And I remember from the time I woke up on the table, my face was in, like if you've ever gone for a massage and they put your face kind of in that donut hole so you can breathe, my face was in one of those. And I picked up my head, I turned my head to the right, it was dark, I picked up my head, turned it to the left, and this was after I felt the childlike fingers on the top of my head. That's what woke me up. And when I looked to my left, there were 3 gray guys and a bright white light. And they were wearing blackish silver suits. I could see the hands, I could see the faces. And the rest,
Right.
They looked like sprockets. Remember on Saturday Night Live, those outfits they wore on sprockets?
Oh, yeah, this is detour.
Yeah, honestly, that's what they look like. And I remember thinking, oh, geez, I'm going to get implanted here. This is actually happening. I can't believe I'm there. And I remember them cutting open the skin on the back of my head, and I remember screaming that it hurt. And then I remember hearing a voice in my head, which clearly sounded like Samantha Mowat, saying, "Dave, it doesn't hurt. The pain is just in your mind." And I remember calming myself down, and as weird as this sounds, the rest of it felt pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I was almost giddy about it. Right? Until I had to pee.
Right. But see, Dave, you're not normal. I mean, think about, like, you're like the normal person, they're scared when something like that happens because they don't necessarily believe aliens exist. They're not like us and are interested in psychics or energy, or like you say, you have abilities. There's a large portion of the population that are not accepting of what scientists would call these fringe topics. And so when I meet most alien abductees, they're just regular people doing regular jobs. They have a normal marriage. They don't want something like this. I mean, even if it's a dream, they don't even want to have dreams like this. It literally scares them so much. And I do, want to express out there that, this last abductee I met said that they opened up to me because they felt, I was genuine. And, if there's anyone out there who's had experiences and they feel reserved about opening up to somebody to tell them about it, I promise you'll feel better, if you reach out to someone like me and tell your story and get it off your shoulders, you know. And that's the only reason, Dave, like I say, you know, you're not normal, because, man, you think it's cool. Like, most people would be scared to death when they woke up, man. They'd be searching their head. They'd be, who knows what they do. They might run out and jump off a bridge because they can't believe what just happened, you know. So I'd say lucky for you that you're kind of open to these things, and to the point where you're even accepting when you wake up in the middle of an operation and an alien being's implanting something in your head.
I have a few questions from the audience here, if you don't mind. Craig is asking, and this is directed at me here. I apologize. Yeah, there's the Canadian. Craig is asking, how do you know this wasn't just a dream, Dave? I wondered about that, Craig, except every time it happens, my head starts to pulsate. And I've actually tested it out where I've had friends who I've told that story to, and I will actually place their fingers on the back of my head where I was implanted, and they will actually feel the pulsating going on at the same time. So that's how I know that it's actually in there. Gail is asking a question. Dave, doesn't your implant throb when an alien is near? Is Carl there to help you? I don't know where the hell Carl is. I really don't know where Carl is. I ask for Carl to come by every damn night and every day. And he stands me up all the time. I'll tell you, I feel like a cheap one-night stand with Carl. I really do. He gave my phone number and he never called. I don't know, Gail, to be honest with you, to answer your question.
Carl knows how to find you.
Carl knows how to find me. And
exactly.
He better find me soon, because I'm getting a little pissed off. I honestly believe, and I don't know why, you know, maybe it's just my hopeful imagination, but I honestly believe, guys, that the next time I actually meet Carl, I'm going for a ride. You know?
Nice.
There you go. And, you know, that's one of the things that keeps us going, is Tracy actually wants to be abducted. And we always kind of make a joke out of it because she has bad knees. So if we get abducted, we're going to try to tell the aliens to give her some new knees.
Well, you know what, though? I'm going to offer you guys some advice, and you do with it what you want, my friend. Okay? And Tracy can do with it what she wants. Okay? Yes, everybody who is in this field wants that experience. They want to get abducted. They want to know what it's like. But there's a huge difference between wanting to be abducted and wanting to be abducted by the good guys. Okay, because there is good and bad out there. So make sure that if she is putting out that intention that she wants to be abducted, make sure it's from benevolent beings, because we really don't want her to have the bad, negative experience, because that may not end. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. One thing,
I mean, especially after watching a movie like Fire in the Sky.
Exactly. All right. Mike Smith is saying, right beside me, but I'm going to type in or read what he said, what he typed into the chat room, because he's being a good boy and keeping silent tonight. Thank you, Mikey. He's saying, isn't that what Bigelow is doing on the ranch? Silent technology or alien technology? You know what, Mike? I'm saying this out loud, even though you're sitting, you know, just across the room from me. But I'm going to say this out loud because I read it to the audience. We will actually be talking with a gentleman on Monday in regards to Robert Bigelow. So it's going to be a lot of fun, because I want to learn about Robert Bigelow too. I want to know why this billionaire has all these really, really cool sites. Michael Lee Hill will be our guest on Monday, and we're going to talk about Robert Bigelow. He's actually met Robert Bigelow. Milo is asking, do you believe, Dave, you've been taken since childhood and also family members? What are the odds they abduct a 40-year-old for the first time? I was 38, man. I was 38. No, actually, how old was I? 2014. I was 41. I went through a reading with Derek White Sky Cloud. He said the first time I got taken was around 7 years old in Saskatchewan. I happened to be on holidays in Saskatchewan with my family at that time. He says that's the first time it happened, and I hadn't been taken since. But because I was opening up, that's why they went with me again. Bob is asking, Dave, have you checked your body for frequencies being transmitted by the implant? Do you have a frequency counter? I've actually put a K2 meter to my head, and nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Yeah, Dave, but remember this too, because, I have to fight this all the time. People ask me, hey, you should take these sensors or that sensors. Who really knows what sensors to use for these unidentified objects? I mean, we're talking about unidentified, and if they are an alien being, we have to hypothesize that their technology is thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of years more advanced than ours. Who's going to make that jump to speculate that we'd actually have the technology to observe their technology? I mean, who knows what kind of frequencies they would be using, or, that implant, what is it using to send the signals?
True enough. Let's get to another couple more questions. Darren is asking, what is the best guess, Dave, on what your implant's purpose is? Well, it hasn't improved my looks any, and my hair has gotten grayer, so it's definitely not for making me look younger. I'm a little pissed off about that. And it's definitely not for contacting Carl, because he continues to stand me up anyways.
And nor does it give you the winning lotto numbers.
No. So, I don't know what it's for. I really don't. I'm sure they're tracking me somehow. Ron is asking, Dave, no offense meant, do aliens probe people, and with what? Well, if you listen to Whitley Strieber and watch South Park, yes, they do, because Cartman had a satellite up his ass, but that's a different episode whatsoever. I think they do a lot of
things. Or if you watch the movie Paul, remember he makes that joke, what do you think, we're harvesting farts?
Exactly. I think there is a lot of things that they do to people, especially the negative beings out there. And I think that they are somebody who, or something that really has no fear or remorse of anything that they do to some people. And I hope that never happens to me, man.
Dave, do you think the whole probing thing could be just sort of a metaphor for taking samples? I mean, we never hear or rarely hear about blood being drawn or anything like that, but you would have to imagine or hypothesize that if they're testing people, they're taking various samples. Is it possible that the whole probe has just become sort of a blanket sort of joke for any kind of, fluid testing or blood drawing that they're actually doing?
Could very well be, man.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, we don't know. That's the problem. We can sit here and speculate for hours, days, on what they are doing. And I'll tell you, we don't know. I think it depends who's taking you, what species, what race, why they are taking you. Are they for women, are they taking you to harvest your ovaries? Or are they taking you to actually learn knowledge about what your vital signs are? I mean, there's a lot of things that they could be taking you for. We just don't know. We really don't know.
And, and that's why the ancient alien theory is so interesting, and the Sumerian religion, and pointing back to the fact that the Sumerians believed that the humankind was invented to mine natural minerals and materials out of the ground. There was that alien race that lives on planet X and comes by every 30,000 years or so, and that's when they come and pick up more gold that they would use in their technological devices. And when they first came here, they took the dirt and their own knowledge of genetics, and they put together the human race. So maybe what we're experiencing is just certain individuals monitoring the experiment and monitoring us for the next time they return. And it's just very ironic, because here we are thousands of years later after the Sumerians, and the thing we're most interested in is gold.
Milo has an interesting question. Go ahead, Everett. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, why come to, if they're so advanced, why come to a planet like ours to mine gold when our scientists are beginning to see the value in essentially asteroids just floating around, that there are, millions and trillions of dollars worth of valuable elements and minerals on these asteroids? Why mine a planet when, if they're that advanced, they couldn't just go grab some asteroids?
Yeah, it's perfectly plausible, but maybe just like us, it's so difficult to actually track an asteroid, because the Earth is so visible just by visible light. It would just make it a perfect candidate. And I think you might find trouble finding things in the, like so much of one specific material in a specific place. So while the asteroid may have gold, we all know it's kind of going to be spread out throughout the asteroid in little bits and won't be in the high concentrations that you'll find here. And don't forget that they're so advanced that they don't want to waste their time to stick a drilling machine in the ground. These people are so advanced that they could create a human species who just does it while they go on vacation.
Let's get to a question from Milo here, and this is for all of us. Everett, we'll start with you on this one. Do you believe there are abductees on other planets forced into slavery?
With all of the people that have gone missing and have never been found, I believe it's completely possible. And as the skeptic, sometimes it's hard to admit that, but really, there's no reason, if we believe the abduction experience, then there's not that far of a stretch to accept the idea that some of these people are being abducted and taken and used as slaves.
What do you think, Tim?
Right. Oh, I definitely do. And I definitely think that, unfortunately, someone like yourself has kind of become that same slave. You're playing victim to whatever is going on. And like I was saying, these people are so advanced, and you yourself have experienced their lack of care for your own feelings, the same way our own scientists have a lack of, who knows what an animal can think or what kind of pain it can think. So if a scientist tranquilizes an animal and then starts dragging it around and doing whatever, I mean, man, is that animal alive? Does it know what's going on? And that's the same experience you're having. So I have no doubts that there are entire species and races that are just playing out what that person asked. And, I mean, isn't that what we try to do? I mean, we have our own geneticists doing things similar. I'm sure we can all speculate with 100% confidence that buried somewhere in one of these countries in the world, and especially these bad countries, that there's crazy genetic experiments, there's people getting taken and getting forced to be victims to these experiments. And I've even read books about what was going on with Hitler in World War II. I mean, there's individuals who have written books speculating that one of the things Hitler was doing was mass genetic experiments and biological weapon experiment tests on those poor Jewish people. And that's why he was gassing them when he was all done, because if you put Ebola in somebody, you can't just dump the body. So you have to get rid of these things in a certain kind of way. And that's why this gentleman who has a PhD was speculating this theory. And that's and the 40s kind of correlates with the same time when a lot of these specific diseases and a lot of medicines that fix these issues, like the flu, E. coli, Ebola, they all kind of came out of the same time. So is that what was really going on in Germany? Were they really doing crazy tests like that? So I don't think it's too far to go to speculate that if there was an alien race, there has to be a bad one. And yes, they have like slave races where they do their tests and do their mining.
I think there are slaves or just people who maybe they've moved for other reasons to other planets. I mean, even though, we all hear about David Paulides type of research where these people who go missing and there's no reason for them to go missing. They aren't depressed, they aren't anything, and all of a sudden, poof, they just disappear. You know, I think there may be something to it. Where they're taking people, I have no idea. But I do believe that it is happening. Don't know where they would go or why, but you never know what the circumstances is. The reality is we just don't know.
Right. You know, and, you know, there's great points to make from being a skeptic, you know, and being in UFO seekers, I always try to be a skeptic. And I try to run down the middle when we make videos or we give an answer to something or discussing something. Personally, myself, I honestly believe these people I talk to. I mean, that's why I do what I do, go the places I go and put myself through what we go through, is because when you meet these people face to face, it takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, when someone opens their armpit and sticks a needle through a piece of skin, you start to just wonder to yourself, like, this just isn't normal. You wouldn't just wake up and go out to the mailbox and the neighbor calls you over to the garage and he's like, bro, check this out. I got abducted by aliens. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You know, you're meeting these people who've said they've seen psychologists. They can't get help. It's a weight on my shoulders. You know, but from a skeptic's point of view, like, yes, most of the time it happens in their bed. They wake back up in their bed. Like the caller asked you, Dave, did you check your head? Do you have the scientific evidence? So I can definitely understand from a skeptic's perspective. Even myself, before I did UFO Seekers, I'd read stories, and who's to know? Because you're just hearing the story over the air or on the internet. But I'm telling you, when you meet some of these people face to face, you will walk away questioning what is going on around you and definitely looking over your shoulder and looking up in the sky at night, wondering, is there an invisible craft above my house just waiting to take me away and put my implant in?
You know what? I do that every night. After the show, I do that absolutely every night, trying to figure out what is out in the sky and what is, you know, out there. And sometimes you do get that nervous feeling that there is something out there. You get that nervous feeling that you're being watched. There are days when I am outside and I could be standing on my patio, which is on my second floor, you know, just staring up at the stars, and something gets me into an absolute panic that I need to go inside right now. Like, I feel this danger that goes along with it. It's not a fear of I'm going to get hurt, but it's a fear that if I don't go inside right now, something is going to happen that I don't like, and I better go inside where it's safe. And I know I'm not the only one having that feeling, but that's a feeling that truly happens with a lot of abductees, isn't it, Tim?
Right. But I mean, just you saying the fact that you go out and look up at the stars, that's one of those like investigator things where it makes me believe you, Dave. Like, if you were just making this up, you wouldn't even say anything like that, because your mind would be moving on to how can I embellish the story more. It's you know, because there's kind of psychology to everything. So
But how do you take seriously an abductee, Tim, when you were investigating? How do you take that seriously?
That is probably an impossible question to ask, and I think for myself it's become a passion. It is my passion to find what is going on out there when it comes to UFOs and aliens. So it's through that passion and through what we're doing with UFO Seekers that, you know, I personally believe a lot of these people's stories. So that's what drives me to believe these people. Because honestly, Dave, you don't know. I mean, how can you know? But what gets concerning is when you meet someone who's not in like the UFO community or is hanging out at UFO conferences, and you just meet somebody randomly, you know, who approaches me, tells me a story. They're not like a movie buff. They don't really watch TV. And where I live, I mean, there's lots of farmers and oil drillers these people aren't like sci-fi nerds. It isn't Hollywood out here. And they start telling you a story about those typical gray aliens, the black eyes, the way the skin looks, they don't have clothes on. And there becomes like this trend that you see buried below that is interesting. And honestly, if I'm going to seek the truth, how can I mean, if I want people to come tell me a story anyways, I don't want to be telling people I don't believe you. I mean, I want people to approach me and know that UFO Seekers is here to listen to these people, to take them serious, because no one else will. I mean, I know earlier we were talking about out in the real scientific community, in the private sector community, you're not in the universities, our fringe elements, the UFOs, the ghosts, the psychics, don't get the credibility they do. Although when you go underground into the black projects, yes, they're doing remote viewing, they're trying to develop alien technologies, and maybe they're even reverse engineering. But being what we want to do, we can't afford not to believe these people, because then we would just stop doing it. Because if there was just evidence sitting out there, I think somebody might have found it already. So, sometimes this specific topic is kind of always, you're chasing that little carrot, but you don't necessarily always grab it. So I do take people at face value, but just like Nick Redfern said last night, I'm analyzing the person as I'm talking to them. I'm looking at their car. I'm looking at, how their body's moving, what they're talking about, what they're focused on, are there monetary gains? Why would this person tell me what they're telling me? And I think that's when you start to kind of believe this person personally. But it doesn't mean that I would ever try to tell anyone, hey, this is definitively what's going on, because honestly, no one's going to believe it until, we're holding that UFO in our hand, or you've got Carl locked up in the closet,
If I could, I would lock Carl up, because he's pissing me off. You know what? Next time I see him, I'm gonna go get some handcuffs so I can handcuff him to me. I'll wear one on my wrist. He can wear one on his wrist. That way, that jerk can't just run away the way he likes to.
Right.
Hey, I just want we have about 5.5 minutes here before we got to go to our second break. I want to give everybody an update on the fire situation. When we were started on the air, the fire was around 280 hectares. As of last report a few minutes ago, the forest fire near my house has grown to 500 hectares. So it's getting big, and we need to put that energy out there once again, everyone, to try and, slow these down, give the firefighters the strength that they need to battle this blaze, so that way it doesn't affect anybody's homes in my area. I'd be more concerned of it if it affected someone else rather than me, but that's just the kind of guy I am. I don't like seeing people suffer. So we could use some help around here in BC with some very positive thoughts and karma and well wishes for our firefighters, and to tell that storm to stop pushing east and maybe get some rain over here, even though it's not supposed to rain for a couple weeks here. So I just want to give everybody a quick update on that. There has been no evacuation orders for my area. I will be going to check it out after the show. I don't expect an evacuation for my area to happen. I am broadcasting from a different venue than where I normally do, in Uncle Jimbo's cabin, but the main thing is we have the ability to use our energy to push it towards those firefighters who need it. And I don't know. Trip is just asking, is the fire growing towards you or away from you? I don't know. I'm on the other end of town right now, broadcasting at my buddy Mike's house, and we can't tell. I'm in an enclosed room right now, broadcasting, so that way I really cannot tell the fire. I will try and find out more during the break, but let's just try and send some positive vibes. Whether it's rain, whether it's strength for the firefighters, I would appreciate that, because this has never happened to me before. And as exciting as it is, it's scary. It's scary. And now there's reports in my area where there are idiots driving around looking in people's yards for something to steal because they know people are on the brink of evacuation. So there always has to be a jerk out there who has to try and make a tough situation even worse. But I guess that's what thieves do, right? They don't care. They don't have that heart or that soul for what people need, you know? So we'll just go from that. We got about 2.5 minutes left before we go to break. Everett, when you hear about implants, when you hear about abductions, you know, as a journalist from the Encounter Online, and you've done journalism before, how do you take those type of reports seriously?
I think it's very easy to take them seriously. Any report you have to take seriously. Mostly because even there are so many reports of implants, of UFO experiences, of abductions. It's kind of absurd to assume that everybody is making this up. You always have the ones who are trying to profit from it or get their 15 minutes of fame, but even if it is 90% of them, there are still an enormous amount of reports that are possibly valid, true reports. So you have to take everything seriously and kind of let the person telling the story guide you to your beliefs. Kind of like Tim said, if they immediately try and profit off of it or begin to try and gain monies from it, then that reduces their credibility, their validity. But if it's somebody who has struggled with whatever has happened and they're, scared about it, that just increases their validity. So I think you have to take every report seriously and let the abductee or victim kind of guide you towards what the true story is.
Right. I think you're right on the money.
Guys, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we're about 30 seconds away from the break tonight, our final break on Spaced Out Radio for tonight. We are talking everything to do with aliens, abduction. Tim Doyle from UFOseekers.com is here with us. He is affiliated with Spaced Out Radio. Also, the main builder of our brand new look website at spacedoutradio.com. And Tim, you did a hell of a job. I'm not going to lie. You really did a hell of a job. And I know you're not done yet, but it's so impressive. So I highly suggest check out our new look website if you haven't just yet. Tim and Everett Themer from the Encounter Online are going to be with us for hour number 3 as they go the distance tonight. We're talking everything strange, weird, from abductions to UFO sightings to anything in between. And yes, we are monitoring the forest fire that is starting to rage around what's my damn show called? Spaced Out Radio Headquarters. So we're going to be checking in on that as well. I'll give you another update on the other side of the hour. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We will be back right after this. Stay tuned. We got 1 hour to go. Looking for a great weekend getaway this fall? Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Come on up to the heart of British Columbia for the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon, being held at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Speakers from all over North America are coming to discuss Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and intuitiveness for the 3-day event, September 29th to October 1st. For more information, go to spacedoutradio.com and click on the Caribou Paracon banner and book your tickets today. Come to BC, where the paranormal is waiting for you.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with UFOcop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
A child grew up too fast, went running wild. Now we don't know who to pray to anymore.
Welcome back to the final hour of Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, our Keith Andrews is back for his monthly feature called the ET Connection. Keith talks everything alien, so if you have questions, he's very interactive with you, the listeners, so make sure you come on in because we want to hear from you during the show. We are live on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Thank you so much for making us part of your day, evening, and night. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cuomo Docukanize. I said that wrong. Cuomo Docune Kais. Or is it Docune Quiz? Cuomo Docune Quiz? Or Cuomo Docune Kais? Either way, that is your password for tonight if you're a member of the SOR Space Travelers. Make sure you use it wisely. Hey, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect with me live during the show. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Find us on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including our brand new Spaced Out Radio store on our brand new look. We're going to have more swag for you to purchase with our logos on it. It's going to look great. You're going to enjoy it. I can't wait for Tim to get it set up. I'm excited. And you can also pick up VIP tickets for the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon, right here in 108 Mile Ranch. The fire should be out by then. It's September 29th to October 1st at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort. I really hope that all of you take the time to come on down and check it up. Or maybe come on up if you're coming from the United States, like Tim and Everett are. So make sure you do. Tim Doyle from UFOseekers.com and Spaced Out Radio is here with us tonight, along with Everett Thiemer from SOR's Encounter Online. We're talking everything to do with UFOs, aliens, abductions, contact, and so much more. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You know, I got to tell you, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm sure you guys have heard it in my voice and everything, I'm a little concerned about this whole fire thing. I really am. You know?
And you should be.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think so. You know, because it comes down to, I got to tell you this. It comes down to literally trying to figure out what's the most important thing to grab in your house. I've got my passport, I've got my wallet, so I've got all my ID. We've already checked with our house insurance, so we're good there. Right? So what takes precedence? I mean, I got to go get the pets out. If the call comes on the alert, I got to go get my pets. But
don't forget your pictures.
Well, you know what? I got them on my computer, so I'm okay with that. But the big question is, what do you grab? What do you grab? You know?
I think you have to grab, and everybody has those boxes of family heirlooms that can't be replaced. A TV can be replaced, but so much of most people's family history that's boxed up or packed away, that is stuff that can never be replaced. And that's the stuff you have to grab.
Yes, like my axe.
Yeah, that's true. We have like tables from Tracy's past relatives that are 150 years old. So we'd definitely be grabbing a certain table and a mirror and a picture. We even have an old nickel slot machine that's 100 years old. So just like Everett said, I think we'd be grabbing some of those heirlooms.
I've thought about it. I've never had to think about this in the past, And,
but honestly, Dave, I mean, your personal safety and the personal safety of your family is
absolutely. That's
supersedes everything,
Yeah,
and thank God you have those public officials, the type of people who will run to an emergency to help instead of running away from it.
Absolutely, but like after the show, I'm going back home, okay, because I got to turn some lights on. Because apparently there's some idiots running around the area, and there's like 1,000 houses in the area, but, there's always that bad apple out there that's going to try and take advantage of things, so I got to go turn some lights on and make sure that I'm up for a while, sitting around my house, making sure that, there's no noise, And thank God.
And on top of that, Dave, do you have animals that come out of the forest? I mean, I can imagine that it pushes like bears and moose and stuff, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I can tell you right now, there's bears in my area, there's cougars in my area, there's lots of deer. Okay? There's moose, there's wolves, there's coyotes. There's a lot of stuff that could kill you in my area. So I mean, one of the things that we're going to have to do when I get home is, of course, we're going to have to turn some lights on. I'm going to have to, make sure that my dog, like, thank goodness I got a big dog that's kind of intimidating. So if somebody does try and get in my house, he, even though he is a big sucker, his bark is definitely worse than his bite. But, I mean, he's intimidating enough to keep people away. You know what I'm saying? So we're sorry, I'm just getting an update.
What do they call the firefighting airplanes? Because like down here in California, it's called Cal Fire. So like people could go look it up and check out the airplanes. What do they call it up there?
Conair Aviation.
Okay.
Yeah. So a big shout out to Conair Aviation out of Abbotsford, British Columbia, for flying as many planes in this area as they have, because I believe they're still going, and it's pretty insane right now. Like I said, I've never been in this situation in my life, and I know I've spent a lot of time, but I'm worried, guys. I am actually worried, because it's like almost all of a sudden reality is starting to set in. You know what I'm saying? Reality is starting to set in, and thinking that, geez, this may actually be real. 500 hectares is a lot of land. I'm gonna go after the show, and I'll be able to see the fire from the highway on the way to my house. And I am going to be hopefully grabbing some pictures, because at nighttime, let's face it, the flames are going to light up. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, you have to post that.
I will. I'll post it on Twitter and on Facebook. And it will look pretty cool if we can get some flames. I mean, I got some nice pictures of the flames earlier on, and I have an iPhone 6S, so that's where I'm taking my photos from, and I realize it's not the best camera in the world, especially for a mobile phone, but it's the best I can do right now, and so I will definitely be checking things out.
Right. And I've been through, an experience before you know, especially growing up here in California, where one of my family members' house was threatened with the fire that got just a few 100 feet away, you know, and we had multiple hoses, and we're actually putting out our own spot fires kind of around the property and soaking the property down. So,
Well, we're trying, my friend, and so
yeah,
I'm
prayers,
going
man.
to be honest, man. The nerves are a little shaken right now. The nerves are a little shaken. You know, I mean, the good part is my area has not received any evacuation notice as of yet. You know, that may happen in the middle of the night. I don't know. But if it does, you know, I've got people who have my phone number. I'll be home later on after the show making sure that, you know, everything is A-okay, and hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully, you know, God bless those firefighters, the men and women and the police who are helping out in helping everybody in the area stay safe and stay on guard. You know, God bless them right now, because like I said, and I know I'm repeating myself, I've never been in this situation before, and I hope this is the first time and the last time that I have to go through something like this. So, you know, let's just move
And that's
on.
why you still haven't gotten a cause for the fire? I think you were saying it was accidentally started, or?
Yeah, that's what it's sounding like, is that it was accidentally started at a camp. Because I know they've been doing a lot of logging in that area. So it's interesting to see, you know, if we can you know, track that down. And I'm sure the information will come out, you know, because one thing about fire is it has no mercy. And when you're up here and the tinder is dry, mixed in with a bunch of dead wood that's already fallen, mixed in with a lot of sunlight and not enough water, even though there's like 500 plus lakes in like a 50-mile radius of my house. But when you're on top of a mountain, that doesn't matter. It burns and burns and burns.
Yeah, and how was your guys' winter? Because I know that, you know, down south we got nailed, so I'm assuming that might have taken some moisture from you guys this season.
You know what? We had a very cold winter. It was the coldest winter that I have ever personally been in. The temperature that I recall seeing on my thermostat was minus 36 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's about minus 30 Fahrenheit for our American listeners. And
So you got to tell me then, in Canada, do you guys spend a lot of time inside during the wintertime?
Oh, yeah. Dude, I can tell you this. When it hits about minus 22 Celsius, when you breathe in through your nose, your nostril hair freezes immediately. And it's the weirdest thing. And you could be outside. So if you're a smoker, you could be outside. Your fingertips are freezing within like 30 seconds. And they hurt, and they're throbbing in pain. And that's 30 seconds. You know, it's the weirdest
Wow, so
thing.
see, talk about a place for, like, things to hide. And that's what intrigues me about where you live, is that, and it's the same thing kind of with the desert out here, is that the climate is so extreme that it even becomes difficult to try to capture evidence of something. I mean, I can't imagine trying to take my equipment out to where you're at that time and trying to set it up in minus whatever degree weather and hoping my camera still operates when I'm done.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's a legitimate issue around here. Now, it doesn't stop the snowmobilers from going out at midnight on a Friday night for a night ride. I can tell you that. But, I mean, snow-wise, we only had approximately, about, in my area, about 3 feet of snow, maybe 3.5 feet. You know, it was an average snowfall. Now, the mountains got a little bit more as you got it more into colder areas. The mountains got a little bit more up to that 4 or 5 foot level. so they did get plenty of snow this year up on the hills, but there's so many trees up here. Like, I couldn't believe when my yard started thawing this year, and it started getting to like +1, +2 Celsius, how quickly the snow melted around my trees. Like, they were just sucking it up like a Slurpee on a hot day.
Wow. Yeah, I know down here in the mountains, our snowpack, we were at roughly 300%. So we are way over normal. So 3 feet isn't that much, right, for you guys? 3 feet of snow?
Well, the most snow I've ever been in is about 4 feet. You know,
okay.
But I mean, this area 20 years ago, I mean, people talk about climate change, whether it's real or not. I have friends here who've lived in my town for 30, 40 years. And up until about 10, 15, 20 years ago, let's say 15 years ago, they were used to getting 6, 7 feet of snow every year. The snow has actually cut in half over the last 10 to 15 years. You know,
wow.
I'm not a big climate change guy. I'm not a big environmentalist. Okay, but I can tell you this. When you see a snowfall in an area cut in half, sure, I think there's something to it.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. Bring your president up here during the winter and say, where's my snow? What causes 3 feet of snow to disappear annually over the last, well, not annually, but 3 feet of snow to disappear over the last 15 years?
Hey, you might not get what you asked for, because if our president comes up there, he might end up selling you snow from somewhere else down here. That's how good he is. So.
He could very well. You know what? I have to thank Gail for sending me a message here, because Gail just sent me a message of everything that I should look to bring in case something happens. Gail is like our Spaced Out Radio den mother. She's like our den mother. So she's like, any medications, I'm not on meds, so I'm good there. Pets, legal documents, got those. Phone charger, got that. Valuable jewelry, got to get that. Irreplaceable heirlooms, well, that's me, so I'm good. And if you're under evac orders, get the hell out. Thank you, den mother Gail, Captain Shirk.
You have to love Gail. She keeps us all in line.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. She's the only listener that's really allowed to kick our asses at any time.
She has full permission.
Yeah, and she does a good job at that, too. I mean, let's be honest. Bill, if you're listening, Gail needs another big mention. She needs another big mention because she's taking care of us. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so, you know, let's just, you know, once again, we're watching it intently here, and let's see where this goes. So hopefully they can get some sort of control of this fire, because right now it seems to be out of control, and I don't know if they're still flying up there, but you know, we'll know soon enough when after the show I decide to make my way back to my house to check on things. So we'll soon see. Right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I know, you know, I wanted to kind of touch on the topic of that alien mummy. Did you see that alien mummy that had been going around the internet? Yeah.
With the 3 fingers and 3 toes.
Exactly, and it was dug up in Peru, and the video and the information was released by a Gaia. It's called Gaia.com. So it was very intriguing, and when it first came out, it definitely caught my eye, and so I jumped out on the internet and started, you know, going beyond. And so the first thing I did was sending out messages to Peru. So I actually go through and write up information, translate it, and I started sending off requests for information from down in Peru, and managed to get an article sent to me from one of these people from like a local news station in Peru discussing this supposed alien mummy recovered. And what Gaia claimed they had found was an old Peruvian mummy, and just like you said, the hands and the feet had only the three phalanges, basically, you know, the 3 fingers and 3 toes. But if anybody sees it, it kind of looks like a plaster cast model, but it is extremely convincing. And it started going viral around the internet. Pretty much everyone shared it, and even on like the most famous radio shows, and everyone was really promoting it. You know, but this is something where you know, people need to look deeper and try to think about it differently. You know, so for me, the first thing I started doing was doing research on Gaia itself. And so I actually managed to dig up like an SEC filing, because Gaia is a corporation. And Gaia is actually owned by huge executives here in America. And in fact, one of the executives that owns Gaia is a main executive at Select Comfort, who makes, I believe, mattresses. And so what I figure, that Gaia is kind of like a shell company for rich executives, kind of to get a write-off and to take paychecks no matter what happens to the company. So it actually used to be called Gallium. It's really hard to pronounce. Gaia just finalized a sale of the assets from Gallium, which was a failing company. And Gaia is actually experiencing huge losses. So when I went through the SEC filings, I managed to dig up that Gaia took a $6 million loss in the first quarter of 2017. And that was compared to 2016, when they took an over $4 million loss in the first quarter of 2016. So after digging through the financial reports, and of course Tracy is an accountant, so that makes it a little easier for me, it seems like Gaia is having operational problems. And so something like, you know, if we were just going to speculate, something like a hoax would be needed for Gaia. Gaia is kind of a paranormal, supernatural content provider where people can subscribe to their website and get delivered information about yoga, paranormal, aliens. And so they're the kind of company that thrives on, you know, the 24-hour news cycle and just getting as many hits as they can. And so referencing back to this Peruvian article I got, after translating it, they there were archaeologists down there who sent out requests into America to the top university, and I believe it was in New York. And they got a response, and in the article quoted scientists that they had asked for information about this supposed mummy and if they could analyze it. And what they had found is in the hand that they believe these people working, I don't know if they work for Gaia or if they're working with Gaia, but whoever is perpetrating this or has this body had like cut the hands off, like the fingers off of this real mummy. So they believe that it was a real mummy, a real dead person dug up from the ground, and someone had actually like cut off the fingers and the toes, 2 of them, and pieces of the other 3, and then replaced the fingers with just normal bones that weren't supposed to go there. So they said that the fingers were longer than normal fingers, but didn't contain the normal metatarsals that would be in a normal person's hand. So you would have like the different metatarsals or the bones, and these hands actually had like the same repetitive bone over and over and over. So it became very clear that it was a hoax, although the actual body is a real person. And so when people hear stories like this, you know, I would ask them, what would they do if they dug up an alien body? Because I'll tell you this, if me and Tracy are out and we find an alien body, Dave, the first thing I'm going to do is fill my car up with gas and go to the nearest university that has nothing to do with the government, and I'm going to barricade myself inside with the best scientists, and I'm probably going to take out something for self-defense, and I'm going to guard the door until these legitimate scientists can verify found an alien body, because the question is so important. I mean, if we uncover an alien body, it answers the most important question to many of us. Do aliens exist? Because it impacts religion, it impacts government, it impacts our future thinking and how we look at the world. So it's such an important question. Why would you find an alien body and then make a video about it instead of taking it somewhere and changing the world? And so that's, what we're about, and that's how I think people can kind of see through hoaxes and things that don't seem normal. And this video was released on Vimeo, which is a competitor to YouTube. So it is released in a format that's all about getting hits and traffic to produce revenue. So from my perspective, we have someone who dug up a real body, deformed it, desecrated it, which actually the Peruvian people said in the article I read that these people were actually desecrating a body. And then to add on top of that, they create a lie, and then on top of that, they're actually profiting off of it. So these are the kind of things that are going on out there that make it extremely difficult to give people the truth. Because, I mean, here you have someone who claims, here's an alien mummy. So when I show them something simple like a light in the sky that's moving crazy, or I show them the anti-gravity X that we caught, that's a secret Northrop Grumman project, people don't get too wowed by it. And so that's where you have these companies like Gaia, who are kind of doing the government's work. So it even makes me wonder, do you even have government disinformation campaigns? I mean, if we have private sector individuals who claim to be searching for the truth, yet they perpetrate hoaxes and spread misinformation, they're actually doing the work for the government, and the government just has to sit back now and not do anything, so...
And we got into disinformation earlier this week in regards to what is going on. And it's getting a little ridiculous because people don't know what they can believe and what they can't, because it's all about hits, like you just mentioned. Whether it's on YouTube, whether it is... I'm just getting an update here. Apparently, the fire trucks that are stationed by my house have been called 3 miles west or southwest to back up the fire crews. The area called the 105 in my area has been evacuated. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, guys. We're going to try and push. Okay, we're going to try and push here, and but in case I get a message that I got to go, I'm putting you guys on alert right now. Okay, because the area right by, like 3 miles away from where I am, is now being officially evacuated. Okay, so
I have a question for Tim, if that's okay.
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
That way you can focus on that. Tim, what do you think the media, the paranormal media, whether it be UFO, ghost, what are they doing wrong, and what can they do to increase their credibility?
Well, the thing everyone is doing wrong is like being an advocate. So I think if any of us are watching, let's just say we were interested in politics and we were going to watch the news media. It's hard to tell the difference between an advocate and a journalist, because an advocate, right, is pushing for something and they have like a bias, so their reporting becomes biased towards their advocacy towards a legislative agenda or some type of agenda. And so I think a lot of the people in the field, Everett, if I believe in aliens, I can't let it pollute what I'm doing at work for UFO seekers, because I've got to find the truth, and the truth no matter where it leads, even if it led to the fact that aliens didn't exist, because, hey, that's the truth. That's what we got to find. So if I'm going out and doing investigations, if I'm on social media sharing a story, it better be the truth, or else that begins to hurt my credibility, and you can start to see that these groups or these individuals are advocates for a certain position, carrying water for something. And a perfect example would be the alien mummy, the supposed Peruvian alien mummy, because you have like Fox News Tech, foxnews.com even shared these stories. And so it almost gives them credibility for a moment until people investigate and find out they're not true, and then that just ruins it for everybody. So I think if a lot of these groups took more of a middle of the road, just like an investigator would in the FBI or the police, we're just going to go where the evidence leads. I think that we would have a lot more credibility, because a lot of the things that are real are very subtle. In fact, one of my favorite pieces of evidence was a thermal video caught by the show Destination Truth, and they were at some kind of old native historic place, and they were walking up to a corner, and you can see like a top half of a body in the thermal video walking around the corner, and it's amazing. But I think because of what everyone shares out there and what they kind of like regurgitate, because there's not much content out there. So I think if more of these people focused on getting unique content and sharing things that are close to home for them, because where we all live, there's always people who have these stories or these incidences. So we don't have to be so concerned about national what's going on in our UFO community or the paranormal community, and focus more on the local area and getting those little stories that don't get told and getting those out and getting some unique pictures and some video that no one's ever seen before, and those things will live forever. So we can sit around and share little news stories about this or that, but those things don't live forever. But if these groups go out and catch unique evidence and they present it as a story, and are giving unique videos of these places that no one's ever seen, those things will live forever and really help to bring people in and give more credibility to all of us.
Hey guys, I hate to do this, my friends. I'm starting to panic here, okay? I'm going to call an end to tonight's show a little bit early due to the forest fire. I got to get home. All right? I got to make sure that,
yeah, Dave, you take care,
everything
man. Your
is good.
safety is important.
Listeners, I apologize, and I know I don't have to, but I'm going to. I'm going to cut tonight's show short and try and get home so that way I can get my pets, and that way I can try and get everything sorted out with making sure my house is safe. The forest fire has apparently caused an evacuation a little bit closer to my house than what I am comfortable with, so I got to try and make sure my pets get out of there safe. So please forgive me for cutting this show a half hour earlier. Normally I would never do this. If you want to check out our archives, go to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, iTunes. This will be on iTunes momentarily if you want to listen in. Tim Doyle from UFOseekers.com and Spaced Out Radio, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Same as you, Everett Thiemer. Really appreciate it from the Encounter Online. I'm just a little freaked out here, guys. I'm just a little freaked out. So I got to do this. I got to run. Got to make sure my house is safe, because I'm going to be honest, I'm scared. So I will keep you guys updated. I will try and get some pictures on social media for all of you to see what I am seeing. Hopefully my iPhone can pick them up. But, God bless the firefighters, the men and women who are battling this. Please do me a favor, every single one of you. Send them the strength, because they're trying to save a lot of people and a lot of animals right now. So we will talk to you later. I'm out of here, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.
I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so